Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ning. And Joyce, pencils are down for voting?
Who uses pencils?
I don't know. Is it a computer or is it like a little thing
It's
you fill in
computer.
like a test?
Oh, I miss those Scantron sheets
Mm.
though, don't
Yeah,
you?
Scantron. That's it.
Yeah, I love Scantron sheets. Yeah.
Emmy voting is over, Joyce. That's it.
And then Monday night. So if you missed the deadline, sucks for you if you're a voter. But
So now we can give our real thoughts on all the shows, what we really think. And here's what I think. No, we're not going to do that. We give mostly our real thoughts.
yeah. hmm
So we're
I
going
mean,
to
it
talk
doesn't
about.
matter anyway. We're not voting, so
No, we don't want to influence the vote though. So
we
today we're
we
going to.
have no influence. I think our only influence would be like we might like or people might be interested in watching something maybe based on what we said.
We hope.
Maybe.
I hope so.
Maybe. I don't pretend I have like that much influence. Like
No.
you are in charge of yourself. You could do whatever you want. But I don't think that like I can influence votes because I
No.
do believe that like people like vote for what they like and have seen.
Yeah,
So
I think that's true. I did that on our Gold Derby TV awards, Joyce. I just put all my faves. A lot of girls on the bus representation.
good luck to that show.
So campaigning is over now for phase one. So you're going to talk about some campaigns. And Joyce, you have some Emmy ballots.
I do. I have some ballots from some people.
Nice.
So they're only able to vote in the program categories, so no acting. So I know those are what interests people, but you know, the Emmys, this is how they work. It's not like Oscar winner voting. So
Right. Real ones will still want to hear it.
I'm sure. And it'll be kind of related to what you were asking last week about like if people have to fill out the exact number of slots. I'm like, no,
I
they
love
don't.
this.
No, they don't.
I love info. I love all this info. Let's start with campaigning, Joyce, because you know I love a campaign.
You do. What did you think of the season's phase one campaign?
Really good. I felt like a lot of the networks were out in full force. One I would say I thought Netflix did a great job with Baby Reindeer because that felt like a show with a ton of landmines, and they definitely avoided them all so far.
Um, that was also, I feel like, a hard pivot for them because as we talked about when it exploded in April, they were not expecting this.
No, it
So
came really late, and they just were like, we're going in, and we're gonna introduce all these actors to the general public, right? Because they're all like people had really not seen before, I would argue, right, in like a major capacity. Um, and then also avoid any real life controversy around the show and get people excited about the content of the show rather than the controversy around the show. I feel like they got a good experience in this last year with Beef, which I thought they actually executed in real time as well when it became controversial with David Choi. But like this year, again, a good job for them. So I was like way in on that campaign.
well, with Beef, they also just stopped promo
Yeah.
like with that. Like, but with Baby Reindeer, they still continued after the real life
Yeah.
Martha stuff
Yeah.
happened. So, and now with the lawsuit and everything. Um, but you know, that was also like towards the end of campaigning.
Yeah.
That was like
True.
during voting, so it didn't
True.
really matter. But they, yeah, like you know, it wasn't even in their top tier of priorities on their FIC site
And now
until
and now it's like the juggernaut
it's a huge hit.
expected front runner in limited series. So I was weighing
Yeah.
on that. I was weighing on. I have to say, Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston. I'm back on Reese. She did a great job campaigning, Joyce.
I would love to know why you thought she wasn't
Because
campaigning.
she just wasn't out there,
But you
but she
don't know
was
what she's
waiting.
doing. Like, first of all, she doesn't need to be out there, and Jennifer has always done way more campaigning
Yeah,
than she has. So, and she basically, like, Reese basically just did like 2 interviews. So,
but she was out there in a lot of good ways. The interview she did, but she was. I love that she did that. Like everything I saw that Reese did had like a long tail. Like her Nicole Kidman thing at the AFI tribute was like another. Like all this stuff counts to me as campaigning, getting out there during when people are thinking
also, that
about.
was filmed in April. So, I love that you just forgot about that when you dropped her.
Well, it was filmed in April, but it didn't air, I don't think, until now.
It aired on Father's Day, but
Right,
still, like that happened in April, so it was also in front of their
right,
peers.
right.
So it's like they already experienced it. I don't think these people are watching it
Yeah, but
on.
it helps, I think, to be reminded of it. And I think the
I
noise
don't
is
think they're paying
constantly there.
attention to like, oh, this is when it's
I kind
airing.
of think they maybe do.
No, you are
No,
like way too online to think
no,
like
I'm
everyone
not.
is just paying attention to like all these tweets.
I think they're paying attention to tweets, or their assistants who are voting may pay attention to the tweets, maybe, Joyce, if they're not filling out their own ballots.
Yeah, but I think like if you're already um like voting for, I mean, you could also vote for Nicole, right?
Sure.
Like that's
Maybe
it's like
expats. Let's
I
go.
don't think like that's like you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna vote for her because she got her AFI tribute 2 years later.
Right. Uh, two others that I was like, this is great. One was Hacks, which we're in the tank for, obviously, but did a great job of doing two things. A, being like, Hannah Einbinder is the best on the show, and her finale was the best, and she should win an Emmy for this season. That was like the consistent talking point, and deservedly so. And two, Paul W. Downs for full acting, like multiple profiles, big
He
man
was all about
character.
that Vanity Fair profile, which had way too much pickleball for my liking. So,
Not the greatest amount of pickleball.
and they also refer to it as like they called it a game. It's a match, guys. This is also one of my pet peeves when people talk about tennis. They call it a game. Like, no, it's a match. A game is what you win.
And they have
You
such
win the set
pedantic
to win the
standards. You
match.
think somebody would have caught that in the editing. It's like when you
You're
call
gonna
an
see that
SNL
it.
sketch a skit. That drives me crazy. It's a sketch, not a skit.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
I know, and they're wrong.
Yeah,
Chomping at the bit, champing at the bit. That's another one.
a lot of people do that too.
Dumb,
I love these malaprops.
dumb people.
Mhm.
Uh, love the hacks one. Love the focus on Paul W. Downs being like, this is for acting. Like that was like a real like this is for his
Yeah.
acting and his performance and getting the buy-in from like him, but also like the creatives. Like Jean is great because she knows she's getting in, potentially will win. So she's able to be like, Paul is great as an actor, and Hannah's the best actor I've ever worked with, basically, not saying that, but kind of saying that, and like this and that, and we're gonna go. So that was a great one. I was weighing on those.
Um, so speaking of tweets, since you care so much about
Love the tweets,
tweets,
Joyce.
Guy Branum,
Yes,
who was a writer this season on Hacks and was also in an
in an
episode,
episode.
yeah,
Great
um,
cameo.
on uh June 21st, he tweeted, "Hey, if you're an Emmy voter, please consider voting for Hacks, a show I wrote for, and Platonic, a show I acted on. Both are actual funny comedies. And I'm Binder for supporting Seth and Rose for acting stuff."
I think that the hacks people did a great job from having talked to them, and then also just other profiles and stuff, underlining without insulting the bear that they're a comedy show.
Yeah. Also, did you see the tweet from Lorraine Newman, aka Hannah's mother?
I sure did.
So she tweeted this on June 14th, a day after voting started. "Voting on Emmy nominations is very painful. There are so many deserving actors and shows that have to be eliminated because you can only pick 5 or 7. Also, for fuck's sake, The Bear is not, all caps, a comedy, 2 exclamation points. There, period. I said it, period."
Let me ask you this. We're going to talk about the bear next week, Joyce, because it comes out now. It's out now. If you're
It's out
watching
now.
it,
You can
you
watch
watch
the
it.
whole season.
If the third season, we don't know. This is just all like dart throwing speculation. If the third season is like good, not great, and Hacks is great, the third season of Hacks is great, and there's people being like, we just had the bear win, and it's not a comedy, and we know it's not a comedy, and this season underlines the fact that it's not a comedy. This is all just speculation here. I'm just idly talking. Will that work against, well, the third season, we had been saying like the third season is going to obviously lock in the second season win, but will it actually be a reverse, like a reverse jinx or something, and like it doesn't actually do that because people are like, man, this show Not a comedy. I'm kind of tired of it. It's not funny. Obviously, it's a great show, but this season's not as good as the last season, and blah blah blah. And will they penalize the second season for whatever is going on in the third season? Basically,
I don't know. I mean, so like neither of us has seen the full third season
correct.
of
Right now we
yeah.
have it. Next week we're
Right
gonna
now,
talk all
right now.
about it.
Next week we'll have.
And I
Yeah.
could be like, "Past Chris, you were an idiot. This season was the best." I would hope that's true.
So it's I I think like I don't expect the whole season to be like super funny, you know? I feel like
No.
it'll probably just be on par with season 2 in terms
Right.
of like how they straddle humor and the drama. So, um and we've talked about this before, like I think it might have like another year of goodwill before people start going off a bit, maybe.
I,
You
that
know?
was what we thought, and I still probably would say that. And I think the funny thing is, like, to me, the second season was the best. It was better than the Bear second season was better than the Bear first season, and obviously won its Emmys for the first season. So now we're finally up to the second season. That's what they're voted. That's what you voted. If you're an Emmy voter, that's what you voted on last week. Uh, was the second season, which was great and would deserve to win comedy series, maybe. Even though I think the third season of Hacks is the best season of Hacks yet. But I wonder, I guess we'll see in terms of win where this goes. I don't know. I don't think Hacks, I still think the Bear, like, keeping with the idea of like Ted Lasso winning series for its like second season, which wasn't as good as the first season. I feel like the Bear would still be the overwhelming favorite to win, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
There's
feel like
definitely
the Ted's decline was more steep than I don't think like the Bear has
no,
declined yet. Like I
no,
agree, I think season 2 was better than season
yeah.
1.
I,
So
I,
I don't like
I
I mean right now I don't expect the Bear to lose.
no,
So and I mean like they technically won their Emmys for season 1, but we know it's like for both seasons because
yeah,
they had both in mind. We
season
know
one,
that.
yeah,
So now they'll have season 3 for phase 2 voting. And the difference between this year and last year is also that last year the Bear season 2 dropped a week earlier. It dropped on June 22nd with 4 days of Emmy voting left, and that's when people started like freaking out. It's like, oh, should like I mean, I remember like Evan Moss Bacharach was not in the top 7 before season 2 premiered.
correct. And then he was
Yeah.
like first,
And then people were like, "Oh, should I predict him or not?" Like because of forks and everything, like I don't know. And like
yeah,
we were losing a spot because it went from 8 to 7. Um, so yeah, like I feel like some like we have no idea, but like, I think some people would credit those 4 days of season 2 helping with
I
nominations
would, yeah, I think
for
so.
season
Yeah,
1. Whereas like this year, season 3 is dropping a week later after voting. And like they don't
yeah.
need to worry about
No,
nominations.
I don't think at all. In fact, I think they'll get a ton of like we are. I have them getting into like so many like four actors, supporting actors getting in still or whatever I have, right? Like I'm like I think it's going to be an overwhelming Bear dominance in terms of nominations. But I do wonder if a third season that's a little less good than the second season. Plus, there does like the low hanging fruit articles about like is the Bear a comedy that has been running for like 3 years aside. There does seem like, and maybe that's just the Lorraine Newman tweet, but I was like, there does seem to be, at least from the hack side, like there does seem to be a little bit of a annoyance, if not outright, about it like competing against actual comedies more so than there maybe had been last year.
Yeah, and I think like it'll probably that discourse will continue with season 3,
Yeah.
like no doubt for sure. Like I
You
can't
know,
wait to see all the think pieces between now and next Wednesday when we do this.
I wonder if that guy from Vulture will be like, the Bear is funny because he thought Hacks wasn't funny.
He did say that he's pathologically humorless in the story.
So then maybe he will.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
So
Last campaign, I just want to say before we get to the ballots, John Hamm. Love John Hamm. Love that THR cover profile. I was like, fuck yeah. People like John
horses and
Hamm.
dogs, man.
I love John Hamm. I love him so much. I thought that article was great. And I was just like, man, this guy rules. And I was just very in on the idea of him. And I think he'll get his 2 nominations. Like, I think he's safe for those. So
I mean, I
happy.
have him for both.
Yeah.
And also it's just like kind of like who else is there
Yeah.
really? So,
But I
but
was like impressed with that one.
Yeah, that was a good interview. Covered a lot of stuff. He's BFFs with James Gandolfini's son, which is very sweet.
I just loved I like the way I like when you can read an article and hear the actor's voice.
Oh, there are so many actors where, like, when I read their replies and stories, like their quotes, I read it in their voice.
And this one was great. He's like, I don't know Jimmy really well, but I do know like playing Don Draper was like tough or whatever. I was like, good for you.
Um, yeah, that was good because like he wasn't like hitting the trail hard. Like
Yeah.
he did like like their panels and stuff.
He was at like events, like yeah, like the FYC,
Yeah.
but not like
But this was
individual
like
stuff.
his because you know me, I believe that like the press is really more so for the fans, but it's like good to have just to like send out and highlight too. But
Yeah.
like the actual interview, the content itself is really for
Yeah.
fans because I feel like most voters don't have time to actually read this
I,
stuff,
I
you
think
know?
that's true. I just think like I always feel like yeah, like I feel like the visibility is what's important. So like
Yeah,
being
it's
on the
like
cover
you
of
can see that
THR,
he's on the cover, but the actual content is for the
nobody's
fans.
reading.
Like no one has time to watch the 1 hour Hollywood reporter
They just
roundtable,
want to see the picture.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like so and so is here. That's cool. Right. And he was
Yeah.
also on the roundtable.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I feel like it was like kind of a good balance because there's a certain tier of like actors or celebrities where they could be selective with their campaigning, and
Yeah.
he's one of those people who can
Yeah.
be selective, you
Uh
know.
so I guess those are my ones. I was like nothing else, like nobody I don't think anything like was like, oh, they're like the show like, Shogun. I think is similar to Baby Reindeer. Did a great job of like introducing a lot of the actors to like introducing in quotes, but like getting those actors out in front of people. They did a good job of that. But I was like, that show's a juggernaut anyway, so I don't think it's like probably could just be on not autopilot, but I feel like it's definitely getting all these nominations. So that
I
was a
think it's
good
also
one.
different for shows that were airing in the spring like Shogun was, because like that's also just regular press for the show, right? And then just like, doing like postmortems for like your big
Yeah,
episode, like Anna Salai did
yeah,
after Crimson Sky. That's just like kind of normal press. But I
mhm.
think if you're watching it, like if you're a voter, you're watching that episode live, like you might seek that out. Like I think that might be actually content you would seek out. Like if you're watching that episode live and be like, holy shit, I want like to
Got to
hear
know
her
what
thoughts on
happened here,
this,
right? And a last one I want to mention, Lisa Ann Walter, who I was like, she did a good job.
I mean, she's always campaigning every year. So she's like the head cheerleader of Abbott.
I feel like I felt from like the SAG Awards where she did that bit to like the whole year, and she had a good season on the show, and I might put her in as a coattail nominee when we do our final picks. I was like very excited
Even
about her
with
campaign.
6 slots.
Even with 6 slots, I think she can get in. We'll see.
I feel bad for her. Um, and also I guess Chris Perfetti too, because like the comedy supporting categories have gone from 8 to 7 to now 6
It's tough.
past two
Tough
years.
beat.
Yeah.
Tough beat. Um,
So and then last year they all like Abbott also failed to expand
yeah.
really for season
But
2.
like we've talked about, the voters are not great, but sometimes I mean, the second season of Abbott wasn't as good as the first. And I think the third season is better than the second. So maybe it will expand.
Yeah, but it lost a spot in
True.
a category. So Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked you didn't mention Walton Goggins' campaign. The man
Pretty
is
great. Pretty
everywhere,
great
even
campaign.
though he's filming a show in Thailand.
Guys everywhere.
He took he had a built-in 2-week break in May to come back to the States to do Fallout
Smart.
campaigning.
I would say like I think Fallout, I'm high on that show. So I feel like him and Ellen Purnell did a really good job. And then they did a great job of just getting that show out there, obviously. But they didn't really need to do much because it was such a big hit in the fake numbers.
I think like that show was always going to be a hit with like
Yeah.
the core video game base. And I think it's good having him as one of their leads. And a lot of I think it's also partially because of his availability, you know, that like the campaign is really focused on him, and he is a veteran, like someone everyone loves and has worked with. right? So it's really good to have him be the face of the show and have him be like a hook into the show if like you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna watch the show. It's like video game, post-apocalyptic, I don't know, but I love Vaughn Goggins, you know.
I think, I mean, I still like, we both have him in. I don't think he's going to win, obviously, but I do think all of this is great help for him to win next year.
We've already talked about this.
Obviously, right to the top for next year. Joyce, tell me about these ballots.
Well, I have 3 ballots here.
Okay. Are these anonymous ballots? Should we like be like
They're anonymous. I mean, we could just call them like voter A,
yeah,
voter B, voter C.
This is great. This feels like really good. Like subterfuge.
So voter A just gave me 3 categories. I was just like, just tell me what you like, whatever you remember, because some of them voted like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Basically. So they just gave me
let me just interrupt you and ask that. How many people do you think vote right away versus how many people wait till the last minute?
Well, one of them waited until Monday, which was the last day.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the other 2 voted earlier.
Okay.
So voter A for comedy series. Remember, there are 8 slots.
Fixed at 8.
There, you could fill out all 8 or not.
Okay.
The voter A just voted for 3 shows.
Wow. Can I try to guess which 3 shows?
Sure.
The Bear, Hacks, and Only Murders.
That is correct. How did you know?
Well,
you don't know who these people are.
I have no idea who these people are. I would say The Bear and Hacks are obvious. And then I was like, a lot of people don't love Abbott, as we've seen. And so I was like, Only Murders is like the better option there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so those were the 3 voter A voted for, and they basically said like they didn't watch a whole ton this year just because like life busy,
Okay.
And like they did watch other stuff, but they were not shows like they wanted to vote for.
And in terms of the way the ballots are tabulated, Joyce, is it like
it's just like it's not ranked or anything, so it's not like the Oscars.
just however many ballots shows, it just has to show up on the ballot, right? And that counts as a vote. Okay.
Yeah. So then for drama, again, max 8. Voter A voted for 4 shows. Do you want to guess?
Tough, I guess. The Morning Show, Fallout, trying to think of what things people maybe watched. The Crown I don't think that was great. I don't know if people liked it, so I would say no to The Crown.
So you're not guessing The Crown.
I'm guessing Shogun, The Morning Show, Fallout, and The Curse.
You got 1 correct. They voted for Shogun.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, it was between Mr. and Mrs. and The Curse, and I was like, Joyce knows cool people, so maybe it'll be The Curse.
I know a lot of people, not a lot, but I know a variety of people.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Great. Good job, voter. Voter A.
Justified City Primeval.
Oh my God.
This is not my ballot. I'm not a voter.
Is this your burner?
And The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live.
Oh my God. I would have never guessed these.
So again, it's like same thing. They didn't watch a whole ton, and then like other stuff they didn't vote for, they just didn't feel like voting for an award. So
right.
Yeah. And then for limited, max 5, they only voted for 2.
I'm gonna guess Baby Reindeer because that was popular. And then True Detective.
Yes on True Detective, no on Baby Reindeer.
Oh, nice.
It was Fargo.
Okay. I knew it was going to be at least true because based on what you were saying about this person, I was like, they might not have watched anything in the spring, and I'm sure they watched the winter shows like Fargo and True Detective.
You are correct. This person has not seen Baby Reindeer or Fallout. Okay. I was talking to this person a couple weeks ago, because they asked about Fallout. And
okay.
I was, telling them about Fallout.
I mean, if they like Walking Dead, they should probably watch Fallout.
So yeah, so that was a voter A. So this was someone who did not just fill out all the slots that were available.
And interesting. So to me, like, okay, what that says to me is, again, nothing that we didn't realize, but I'm like, this is one person out of thousands voting, but I was like, I'm not surprised that like a show like The Crown did not have a lot of enthusiasm, I guess I would say. That either you didn't watch, like this person maybe didn't watch it, right?
This person does not watch The Crown in general. So
So, or like was like, I got other stuff. Anyway, go ahead. What about the other one?
yeah, so this person also like some of the other program categories, they
Yeah,
just abstain because like
right.
they were like, I don't watch reality competition shows. So
Okay.
but I'm sure like other voters might just vote for like 5 shows because like they could, you know?
Right.
So voter B, I don't know if you want to guess this, for comedy, they voted for 8. So I don't know if you want to go for all 8.
I mean, if I went for all 8, no, I don't want to guess. I would just
Okay.
do like the top 8. I feel like a lot of people maybe just go to Gold Derby and also look at what the top 8 is and
I
just
mean,
fill it in.
would not be surprised.
Yeah.
So for comedy, voter B voted for Hacks, Girls Five Eva, The Bear, Only Murders in the Building, Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Hmm.
Abbott Elementary, The Gentleman, and Loot, your fave.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. A couple of those there. That reads to me like someone who watches a lot of Netflix. And is it possible that like we've been talking about like the gentleman we've had in, or you had in first, you were a way early adopter, and now most people have followed suit. I think it's 9th overall in the odds. But it was like the biggest hit of these comedy shows, arguably. Do you think like Girls Five Eva, even though it had a lot of articles about how it didn't get the Netflix bounce, would still
It did
potentially
not.
get in the 8th spot? With like you said, like there's like real flexibility at the bottom of this list. I mean, the Girls Five Eva, at least people have probably watched it, right? Like because it was on Netflix. I mean, is it possible it gets in
I
as
mean,
series?
that's the hope.
Right,
I mean that was the hope when it was moving to Netflix, right? It
right,
was gonna get the bump.
right. Because
And
maybe
it
it got the bump, it just didn't get like it's not like Baby Reindeer bump or like Gentleman, but there it's like it still was probably watched by like 10 times the amount of people that saw it on Peacock.
yes. It's yeah, I think I don't think it charted on any of those like fake streaming charts, you know, whatever. I don't know how
No.
to calculate those, but no, I think it definitely got more eyeballs than it did on Peacock.
And I wonder if we're like underestimating it because it didn't get it wasn't like the game changing bump. So most people are just like, whatever. But it was pretty funny. We all like the episodes are good. The 6
Yeah,
episodes.
it's still funny. You know, I wish it was longer this
Yeah.
season. Um, so I don't know, like it's already a nominee because it got in for writing for season
Right.
1, you know. So it's on the writers' radar at least. I don't know, like I think the other thing about it too is like there also isn't like chatter about it. I feel like there was more chatter about it when it was on Peacock.
I I think that's true, but I do think they were like in a lower tier of campaigning. Like Meredith Sorrentino is like out there. She was
She's
doing
not, I mean,
press.
they all did. I mean, I talked to all 4 of them.
I know that
So
you talked to the cast, but I'm saying like in terms of like getting it out, I felt like I've seen articles and like interview, like they've definitely kept it going, I guess.
yeah, like they've all done like press for
Yeah.
it and everything. So I but we know it's not. I feel like if it had exploded, it would have been Netflix's priority.
Yeah, it feels like an
As
easy one
as
to
we
get
know
rid of.
from their FYC site, The Gentleman is their
Yeah. And then
comedy priority.
in terms of Loot, great show, really funny, very it would be a classic nominee if this was like 10 years ago, it feels like.
This voter loves Maya Rudolph.
And there you go.
So
I'm sure that this voter is not alone in that. So it's possible that this show got a lot more visibility on it because of her. And I think we both have her in for actress. So maybe it gets in for series, I guess you could argue.
I don't know.
Who knows?
And then for drama, this person only voted for 4. Do you want to guess?
Shogun, The Morning Show, The Crown, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
You got 2 of them. Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Nice.
Elsbeth,
Wow.
The Gilded Age,
Okay.
and The Crown.
Wow. No Shogun.
This person has not seen Shogun.
Interesting. I knew The Crown was going to be in there because Girls Five O was in there. So I was like, this person's
They're
a
just like
Netflix.
Netflix shows.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably like a lot of people are like, well, I've definitely seen these shows because I watch
This
Netflix.
person has watched The Crown since season 1.
Right.
So just finished it out. But they also, like most of us agree that season 6 is better than season 5,
Yeah.
but still not the best.
Not a high bar to clear. Season 5 was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that limited, they filled out all 5 slots. Do you want to guess?
Baby Reindeer, Ripley, because of Netflix, Fargo, True Detective, and Lessons in Chemistry. I'm just gonna go the top 5 in the odds.
Almost. You got 3.
Oh wow. Okay.
True Detective, Baby Reindeer, Fall of the House of Usher. So not wrong on the Netflix thing, just another Netflix show.
Another Netflix show. Okay.
Fargo,
Okay.
and Hunks in the Air.
Oh, another Apple show. I just had the wrong. I knew the networks. So like, if this person watched Loot, they definitely watched Apple, and if they watch in Girls Five Ever, they definitely are going to be on Netflix. So I just had the wrong shows. That's funny. Those are the more mainstream versions of those other shows, I would say. Like Hunks in the
Yeah.
Air is more, is what we call Masters of the Air. If you're
Yes, it's Masters of the Air, but
Hunks in the Air is much more of
Hunks.
a mainstream version than like Lessons in Chemistry. I feel like they're both kind of mainstream, but
They are, yeah. Yeah. I
and
mean,
then how?
I don't think like I don't think either of them is like the sympathizer. So
No, I guess that's true. And then House of Usher is definitely more of a down the middle hit
that's
than
very
Ripley.
populist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
populist is the right word.
Yeah. This person also gave me TV movie.
Oh, nice.
They only voted
Unfrost,
for they only voted for 2 though. So
Unfrosted twice.
Unfrost, no. It was Mr. Monk's Last Case, a Monk
Wow.
movie, and your fave, Scoop.
Oh,
Netflix again.
another Netflix show. Sure. Yeah, that's a good movie. Not great, but good. Scoop was better than Maestro.
I have not seen Scoop, so I have no opinion.
There's more artistic craft in Maestro, but if you ask me which one I'd rather watch again, it would be Scoop.
Sure. Yeah, so that was voter B. So they maxed out on 2 of these categories.
Okay.
And then not on the other 2 that they gave me. But they also abstained from a lot of the other slots in the other categories too. So voter C, I got the most categories from.
Okay, nice.
They filled out all 8 in comedy.
I'm not gonna guess again. Just read. I guess I could, but I would just do the same top 8. I guess I don't know.
Well, they did Hacks, Only Murders, Girls Five Eva, Based on a True Story.
Wow, is this also your burner?
No,
Do you have 2
this
votes?
is not. This is not because of the next one. Ghosts. Reservation Dogs.
Okay,
Abbott. And The Bear.
the bear snuck in there.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it would make it in because you didn't read it first, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this
This
person
is the
was
order
like,
that they gave me. So
I wonder if this person was like, not a comedy.
I don't know if this is the order they voted in or just the order they remembered of what they voted.
I gotta say, these 2 ballots out of thousands are gonna make me pick Girls Five Out of here in the end.
Because 2 out of 3.
Yes.
2 out of 3 out of thousands.
Yes, because it's on Netflix, and maybe that would give it the bump over like Colin from Accounts.
Your fave. Your new fave. I mean, I think like I kind of like this list. Like
good
I feel
list.
like there's like some of the obvious the contenders here, but some underdogs too.
Yeah.
So, like, how many people do you think voted for Boats based on a true story?
1.
This person.
I think Ghost could be a dark horse, but I felt like it would have gotten in a few years ago when it was like a lighter field.
Yeah, people were like trying to. I feel like they haven't really gone as hard for Ghosts.
No.
This year, so CBS. Drama, they also did all 8. They did Shogun, Slow Horses,
Nice.
Tokyo Vice.
Wow. This is your burner.
Will Trent.
What?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Nice.
Loki. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters.
Yes.
And Reacher.
Wow. Now this is a populist ballot if I've ever seen one.
Right?
Did my dad vote for Emmys this year?
It has all that, and then it has Slow Horses.
Amazing. Good ballot. Monarch is great. I love Monarch, so.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the last 2, Monarch and Reacher.
What this is telling me, again, 3 out of thousands. I think if you're looking at these shows and like obviously I think visibility matters. Like if people are watching the thing, that's like a big thing. Because if you've never watched it, how are you going to vote for it?
Mhm.
But like when you're thinking about like a show like The Curse, which was very polarizing, and there's certainly people who liked it, but I think a lot of people either just punched out or didn't like it, versus something like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which while it came out earlier, I think everybody who watched it really did like it. I wonder if it's like that it appeared on all three of these ballots to me means like, oh yeah, like it's good. I think it's going to get in because like it was good. Like people liked watching it. And so that probably matters.
I will say I did recommend Mr. and Mrs. Smith to voter A months ago.
Nice.
So
And it's also an early in the season show,
yes,
which I think is helps too. It came out in February. That means people have had a chance to watch it.
yes,
So
yeah. Um, I didn't like the curse didn't come up like in conversation with any of these three people. I honestly kind of forgot about it
I
because
don't
now.
have it in either, but I'm just saying I know people still have it in. Like, let me look at that.
Yeah, I think like
It's still eighth in the odds.
yeah, like the field is so open that it obviously has a better shot of getting in this year than last year. Like I would
Right.
never predict it last year, you know.
The other show that was not mentioned here, I think, in terms we're talking about the Netflix bump and stuff, that nobody mentioned Three Body Problem, which is ninth in the odds, and I've seen people suggest would get in. Not a great look, I would say, from
I
three
think
anonymous ballots.
yeah, well, I think that show is like a little like too like sci-fi heavy, like
Yeah,
and it's not like broad enough. Like I feel like people expected the numbers to be better too,
yeah.
you know, and then the fact that like the renewal took so long and then it's like a weird renewal, it's just like more episodes.
And then it was like, oh, but another season.
Yeah,
That was strange.
yeah.
Anyway, what
Um,
about limited series?
limited. They did all five. You want to guess?
Hmm, let me think here. I'm actually pulling up the limited series list so I can see what else because I want to go beyond the. All right, so I would say Baby Reindeer and Fargo. Uh, Griselda. Uh, Apples Never Fall, and Manhunt.
Uh, 0 for 5. Wow, your worst performance yet.
Anything on a high note.
They voted for All the Light We Cannot See.
Oh, I was thinking Netflix and I went with Griselda.
You keep thinking the wrong Netflix show. True Detective.
Okay.
You'll like this one. Under the Bridge.
Yes. We are strong.
The Sympathizer.
Wow. That's their
And
already pick.
Hunks in the Air.
Oh, another one for Hunks. Apple would be thrilled to hear
I
this.
know, right?
They might get in.
But we have what, 2 hunks and no lessons.
Two Hunks and no lessons and no Ripley or one Ripley? None
No
Ripley.
Ripley. None of these people
You
went for
can be
Ripley.
vindicated, Joyce, because you've been like Ripley's out the whole time, and I just have it in like a sucker. But maybe I'll move it out here at the end.
I just feel like in the series race, like I would err more towards like the broad appealing shows as
Like
we've seen in the
Hunks
past,
would be
like
easy to
Hunks
get
or
in.
even like All the Light We Cannot See. You know,
Right. One of
I think
those
that's a
gets
little
in.
like that's more like I think like Ripley can obviously get Andrew and like maybe like writing and directing. You know, and
Yeah.
it could be like another Station 11.
Yeah. I could definitely see Hunks
Like
getting in
I can see the
also.
same thing happening with Sympathizer too, even though we're probably just expecting RDJ to be like the sole above the line nomination, but I could totally still get like writing, directing,
And not
and
series.
series.
I could see that with Ripley too, as it's too arty. And Hunks in the Air also has like the huge craft contingent, which I feel like a lot of like if you're like a visual effects person, you're probably going to vote for Master of the Air maybe instead of like Ripley. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but I love this 5 here. It's just like,
That's chaos magic.
yeah, really great. So for
Wow, this is
TV
great.
movie, I know TV movie they did 3. I feel like you will definitely not get one of them.
Okay. I'm going to say Scoop, Mr. Monk's Last Case, and Good Burger 2.
No, you got Monk.
Okay.
They also did Red, White, and Royal Blue
Okay.
and Turtles All the Way Down.
Oh man, I was looking at that one and I was deciding between that and Good Burger. Ah,
Is this the only vote for Turtles All the Way Down?
Well, I'm sure John Green is probably voting too. So I don't think this is him. So maybe that's two.
It's
Maybe
not
he's an
John
Emmy
Green.
voter. I feel like he'd be an Emmy voter.
For Talk series, dated 3 out of 4.
Okay. Hang on, I gotta look at. I'm gonna just see here. Talk series. John Mulaney, Hot Ones, and Seth.
100%.
Yes, I knew
Again.
it. I got it. Yes.
How did you know it was those 3?
Well, John Mulaney because of Netflix. I have him in too, and I just feel like everybody watches Netflix, so like, why wouldn't he get in? And he is beloved. Hot Ones is the most popular show on whatever you're calling this TV, even though it's not TV. So like, I can think it'll get in because most people have seen it.
And everyone knows about the Conan episode.
And then Seth because he's still cool. The other hosts are all not cool,
Yes.
and so
I mean, I
Seth
love them, but like it's not the same.
Seth is considered cool. Everybody else is considered not cool. Jon Stewart being back is great for the Daily Show. I think that'll obviously get in. That actually be my. Is this a 4 or 5 category? I forget.
4.
It's 4.
Yeah.
So I think my 4 is going to end up being Mulaney and Hot One, Seth, and then Jon Stewart, and then everybody else can go screw basically. So
No offense to Colbert and Kimmel.
no, who I like. I love Jimmy Kimmel, like, but I don't think he's going to get in this year.
Speaking of this week, Martin Short guest hosting the whole week. Yesterday's the Monday episode, not yesterday. Yesterday was Tuesday. The Monday episode was great with Steve Martin and him as Jiminy Glick interviewing Bill Hader. Iconic.
I love that Jimmy does the best thing that Jimmy did was to pull this out of the Stern playbook, which is I'm taking summers off and we're not gonna run reruns. I'm just gonna get host to host. I think that's great. I'm like, good for him.
Well, he initially took time off because of his son after his heart surgery, like right after he was born. And then now that, he has like the seniority and the clout to do it, to continue doing it, it's like summer vacation. It's great.
Right. Really good.
Yeah. And then last category for variety special live, they only voted for one thing.
Billy Joel live at MSG, whatever.
No,
it's
that's
called.
your vote.
Oh, okay.
No, that's pre-taped. That's pre-taped.
Oh, sorry.
Live, like the Oscars, the Tonys.
The Oscars.
It's the Usher halftime show.
Oh, nice. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, these are the ballots that I got.
Love this. This is
Now,
great.
Now you're just gonna change a bunch of your predictions.
Well, I will say this. I don't think I'll change them right away. And we'll just, when are we doing our final picks? Not next week, the week after, I imagine.
The 10th.
So I still have a couple weeks then. I will say this, like, I think on things where I'm like trying to decide between certain things, I think Netflix will get supremacy because I just think that people watch it so much. And so like if it's deciding between a Netflix show and another network show for like the last spot, I might lean towards Netflix just because it's obviously the thing that everyone has seen. Even if they don't love it, they've seen it. And the fact that they've seen it probably takes supremacy over the fact that they haven't seen something else.
What if you run out of Netflix shows? Like you already have them in.
Good question. Then I would go with like the most basic mainstream thing.
Okay.
So like Masters of the Air. So for like limited series at the 5.
I already have Hunks.
So I might going with you on Hunks then, because I'm like, I think the other 4 are probably safe. I have Ripley in my 5th spot by default because I dropped Shogun and Ripley just moved up. But I think if Ripley is still the esoteric one, then like maybe Hunks gets in there, or All the Light We Cannot See, like you said, which is older, which helps.
It's older. It also hit PGA and DGA, so just like Obi-Wan did last year. And yeah, I think if Netflix gets 2 series in limited, it'll obviously Baby Reindeer, and I think the other one might not be Ripley, it might be All the Light We Cannot See or like Griselda, just way more broad.
The other problem with Masters of the Air for me is that I think Apple's never been nominated in that category, already getting presumably Lessons in Chemistry in.
Yeah.
So would it get 2 of the 5?
I mean, like, I don't think like voters are purposely rejecting Apple in the category, like that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like, oh, I'm already voting for Lessons, I can't vote for another Apple show. So
do you think we're overestimating Lessons?
No, because it made like all the guilds basically. It did what it needed to do. It performed way better than Blackbird, and everyone except me predicted Blackbird last year. So because Blackbird flopped at the Guilds except for SAG. And yeah, I don't think people expected Lessons to do so well at the Guilds, and also won DGA.
It's a good show. I mean, it was good. I
Yeah,
like
it's decent. So I think it's like I don't think it's winning, but I think it's probably like based on its performance, I don't see why you would not predict it.
Yeah, no, I got it in. I was just
Yeah.
wondering if like I wonder if people are overestimating it. But I think if you start pulling in threads on these sweaters, the whole thing unravels.
Oh yeah. So I think it would be more of a shock if it were snubbed based on its
Yeah.
performance than if it gets in. So, but
Uh, we got a lot of emails, Joyce. Should we get to them?
sure.
Okay. You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one came in last week after we recorded, but I want to read it because I thought it was good. It's from Steve. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Long time since I've written in. I'm usually more of an Oscar emailer than an Emmys emailer, but I miss not communicating with you both and
Oh
thought I
wow.
finally needed to reach out again. First, I want to talk about Hacks. After your discussion 2 weeks ago about the Hacks Isn't Funny article, let me begin by saying Hacks Season 3 has been my favorite so far and definitely one of my top shows in a long time. That is until I got to episode 5 one day. There is no other way to say it, but this episode was ridiculous. It wasn't funny, it was boring as hell, and was extremely disappointing considering the strong start to the season. Fall down a hill, check. Phone breaks, check. Stung by a bee, check. What the hell is this, a Yogi Bear cartoon? It was super boring, and the argument that it was a turning point for Deborah and Aver won't fly because we have been down this road numerous times over 3 seasons. I guess my issue is I want Hacks to be more Veep, and it's borderline Schitt's Creek, and I loved Schitt's Creek. I just wish the writing was a little more creative and the dialogue was stronger and smarter, but again, this is maybe just a me issue, and I need to let it go. It's from Steven.
Um, Steve, no shade, but I think that's true.
It's a
Let the
user
show be
error.
what it is.
It's a user
Don't
error.
try to force it to be something else.
I was like, everybody got their own opinion. And Steven, obviously a fan of the show. So I'm like, I respect that. But I was like, I really like that episode. Beyond, like, I thought that was a really good episode. Episode 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that episode too.
Also didn't feel, I think one of the things it seems like based on this email that Steven was bucking up against is that it was like a little too fantastical, but nothing really seemed that out of character. Like, it didn't strike me as totally unbelievable. No more so than anything else on the show.
No, I mean, you just have to like go with you have to suspend disbelief with every show. And you
Yeah.
just have to go with the fact that like of course Deborah did not bring her phone.
Right.
But then it makes sense that she doesn't want to bring her phone because she doesn't want lines in her pockets.
Yep.
You know?
And she's old, so she fell.
Yeah. She's old.
Old
And like
people
that's the
fell.
whole point of the episode, right?
Right.
Like um and yeah, like I don't think the show needs to be Veep because it's not Veep. Like that's just a completely different style and tone,
Yeah.
and their goals are completely different. I
Mhm.
mean, I love Veep and like I love that um like their sense of humor too. I would say like I mean both Hacks and Veep are like their humor is very much up my alley, but I definitely love like the snarkier pitch of Veep more. But I think like Hacks has that too. Like it I think, you know, it is I have seen some, you know, like criticisms of it being Hacks being like too sentimental at times. Right? But I
I don't
think like
like those
that's just
though.
yeah, I'm like that's just what the
Mhm.
show is. And I
Right.
don't think that's like too much like Schitt's Creek. I think Schitt's Creek was way more sentimental.
Not my fave show.
Yeah, I'm not into Schitt's that much either. So um
Um,
but yeah, I think we see this a lot in like film criticism too, quote unquote. Like people watch a movie wanting it to be something they have in their mind instead of just watching it for what it is.
yeah,
So
tough.
um yeah, yeah, I like that episode. And I don't think it was unfunny.
It was really funny.
I
It
mean,
has
you
that
know, like
great,
we have like different tastes, but
it's that
yeah,
great bumper at the end with Marcus being like, "What the fuck?" When Ava's eyes all swollen up. That's great.
hilarious. And then when the boys ask for Mike's hard,
Really good.
LOL. So
Uh, this one's from Mike Joyce, our old friend, the Game Master.
oh, does he have a new game?
No,
Oh.
he doesn't. Spoiler alert. No game. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me again, Game Master, and Kevin Costner's Yellowstone replacement, Mike. Once again, thanks for reading my letter last week and answering my friend's morning show question. I agree with your David Schwimmer answer. He can play someone from the regulatory board who is against the merger, and Alex has to save the day by taking him around Coney Island, just like what she did to John Hamm last season. Who can forget that iconic moment, Joyce?
That is a Jen talked about that moment in her Actors on Actors.
Yes.
With Quinta.
Mike continues. I still have a Game Master's block, so no games. Also, as I'm writing this, I'm listening to Joyce's episode and the Runner Up Is podcast regarding Gwyneth Paltrow's Oscar win.
Oh my gosh. I recorded that months ago.
Wow. That's a good plug. I guess we listen to Joyce on this other podcast and the Runner Up.
That was our old pal host Kevin Jacobson.
Kevin, yes. It's great. Great show. Here's the question for you two. For weeks, you have been discussing your predictions on who will get nominated and who might win at the Emmys, but I want to change it for this segment and give a spotlight to those who are not high-profile contenders. So here's my question. Which performance is not in the top 10 of the odds or not heavily predicted should get nominated at the Emmys? Mine is Sorry Blue for Expats and both J.B. Smoove and Susie Essman for Curb Your Enthusiasm. Feel free to name as many as you want and discuss why they should get nominated. Thanks and have a great day. That's from Michael.
Okay, well, I have to pull up the odds then.
I'm pulling it up too, and it might crash my computer. I'm just letting you know, but I'm doing it for Michael.
I don't know if there's anyone in like drama actor.
Do you want to go through every category?
I don't think we need to go through every category, but I'm just like trying to look for people to see.
I'll start with comedy. Let's start with comedy.
Okay.
Renee Elise Goldsberry for me. She's 11 in the odds.
Oh yeah, same for me.
Absolutely hilarious.
The best.
So good. For actor, yikes.
Actor, I don't know if I would for any of these. No shade to any of them, but
I'm staying from actor. For supporting actress, I have an easy one right at number 11, Meg Stalter.
Oh, she's at 11 too?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have her in 10th here.
Oh, I have her in 11th in combined odds. Who's in 10th for you?
I have Meg Stalter in 10th and Lisa.
Okay, I have Lisa in 10th.
So I'll say Lisa since
okay, one of them I think would be good. For supporting actor,
PW's already in the top 10, so
yeah, good for him. I'm gonna go with a twist here, Joyce. I really liked him in this show. Ricky Martin in Palm Royale. I thought he was really good.
Oh, past nominee.
Yeah, nice. He's 18th in the odds here that I'm looking at.
I'll shout out Daniel Ings for The Gentleman, the chicken suit.
Sure.
The only episode of the show I've seen.
Nice.
So
for guest actress in a comedy, I would do Christina Hendricks for Hacks. She's in 17th.
Yeah, that was a nice one-off thing.
Really funny.
Yeah.
For actor, well,
I'll do Hal Linden since
me too. I think I haven't predicted it, so I'll put him in too. He was great. Loved his one scene. Let's see, drama
actress. I don't know if I do any of these.
Oh, I got one, obvious one. Melissa Benoist for Girls on the Bus.
Where is she?
She's 15th.
Wow.
The Melissa Benoist stands are strong and legion. And they watched a lot of my video with her, which you can too, Joyce. It was great. All respect for her to doing interviews for a show that was canceled.
Yeah, you were supposed to talk to her before the cancellation.
And I was like, oh, and it didn't come through. I was like, they're not going to do this. They got canceled. Then she still wanted to do it. And she deserved to do it because, not deserve to talk to me, but just should be recognized and like celebrated for that show. I thought she was great on it.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like don't be ashamed that your show was canceled, right? And it's like no different than just, promoting a limited series, right?
Yeah.
That's not coming back. So.
Yeah. For drama actor, I would do John C. Reilly for Winning Time. Speaking of canceled shows.
I guess I have to do my guy Timothy Olyphant.
Perfect.
In 13th.
Supporting actress.
I don't know if I do any of these.
I'll do Carla Gugino for Girls on the Bus. I'm just gonna go right down the ballot on Girls on the Bus.
I abstain.
For supporting actor, in mine, this guy's in 11th place. I think I have him third in my picks, but Tokuma Nishioka for Shogun, who I think will get in.
Sure. Um, I don't know who else is here. Oh, you know who I would do? I would do Sho Kazumatsu for Tokyo Vice.
Great.
It was great.
For guest actress and in drama, this one is bleak, but I would do Beverly Glover for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Donald
Same.
Glover's mom. She was
Iconic
great. Really good.
performance.
And then for actor, guest actor, I would do Ron Perlman for Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Same. I almost want to predict him.
He was great.
He's so funny. I love him being a giant baby.
Really funny. It's really funny because the way they wrote that episode and the way he played it like as a slow reveal that he's like their child. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just like it's like really clever. For actress, limited series or movie.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever watch Musica?
No, nor upgraded, so I can't even pick Camila
Wow.
Mendes.
I think I'll abstain.
Yeah. Yeah. For actor,
Actor, I can't do Hua because he's already in eighth.
oh, I would do
Oh,
Aaron
you know who I
Pierre.
could do? I could do Anthony Boyle from
Okay, and
Manhunt.
I would do Aaron Pierre for Genius MLK X. He was great. He
He
was
was.
legit. He was really good as
Mhm.
Malcolm X. Really, really good. For supporting actress, I have an easy one. Chloe Guidry for Under the Bridge.
Yeah, I'll just do any Under the Bridge person.
She's in 14th place, Chloe Guidry. Probably largely because I have her in, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the whole reason why Meryl dropped from first place because you dropped her completely.
And then for supporting actor,
Supporting act. Oh my gosh.
I'll do Lamorne Morris for Fargo.
Oh, he was good. Yeah, I'll do him too.
Okay.
Sure.
Too bad the voting's over, so this doesn't mean anything.
Well, we're also not voters.
Just in case of like a visibility choice. Hopefully people made the right choice on Chloe Guidry. That's
You know
all.
what's interesting about or what's different between uh Emmy like events and campaigning and Oscar events and campaigning? Like for like an Oscar event and like a screening Q&A, you get to see the whole damn movie, right? And like you get the whole experience,
Yep.
and then there might be a Q&A with the creatives after, and that like you go home feeling great, like I'm gonna vote for this. I loved it so much. But with the Emmys, TV shows, you can't show the whole series.
No.
They usually only show like one or two episodes, right? Like maybe three if the episodes are short enough. So if you've never seen the show and some of these events are happening, like the past like couple weeks when shows already done airing, so they might like air or they might screen a finale episode, right?
Right.
If you're just going to the event and you've never seen the show before, you're like kind of lost and you're just like thrown into this like this big episode, right? And then it's up to you to do the work to go home and watch the rest of the show yourself if you've never seen it, right? Like if they just show you the first two episodes, you got to go home and watch the rest.
Yeah.
So,
You think people do that?
I mean, I think like if they really liked what they saw, like in an event, like maybe, but I could definitely see some people, being like, oh, I like they enjoyed the event, they enjoyed like those two episodes they watched, but they go home and like they just forget about it, right? And they never finish the show, you know?
Uh Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's from Max, another frequent emailer, Joyce, back again. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hope you're both doing well. It's been a while since I sent in an email, so I have two questions for you this week. Please bear with me. In most years, there's at least one show that gets into writing and directing, but still misses series, with recent examples including Bad Sisters, Maid, Station 11, and Normal People. Do you think this fate will befall a show this year? If so, which one? My current guess is Ripley, which seems to be admired by writers and directors. Issa Lopez and Francesca Sloan could not stop gushing about it during the Hollywood Reporters Producers Roundtable, but may not have enough broad support to get into limited series. My second question is about the guilds. As you've highlighted, the guilds have been an excellent bellwether for Emmys of late, but for whatever reason, most Emmy pundits don't pay attention to them at all. So based on the guilds, which shows do you think people are over and underestimating this year? As always, thanks for taking the time to read these emails. Have a nice week. That's from Max.
Wow. Well, we kind of talked about like the Ripley thing.
Yeah, I think that sounds really true.
Yeah.
And the
So
guilds we were just talking about too, in terms of like lessons in chemistry, did really well. So I don't think people are underestimating it, but I think if they're thinking about ignoring it, they'd be foolish to.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think that's underestimated because it's in the top 5, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it like again, it's the complete opposite from Blackbird last year, which hit nothing except SAG,
Yeah.
and then just got its major nominations for just acting, and then it got a cinematography nomination too. Yeah, the guilds, yeah, like we just said, all the light we cannot see hit PGA and DGA.
Maybe people should be paying attention to that.
Yeah, that was also an early release. We saw how well early releases did last year in
Mhm.
limited and TV movie, right? Like
Yep.
last year, TV movie really broke out. I think also because they didn't care about like a lot of limited series too. Um, and then I don't know what else hit guilds this year.
I mean, there wasn't a lot early, but those are like notable ones, I would say.
Yeah. Well, A Murder at the End of the World also hit WGA. I don't know if that will get in writing,
I
but
could
like
see
that is a
getting in
guild
for
nomination.
writing, but
Yeah.
not maybe for anything else. They've been doing a good job promoting that too. Britt Marling was all over the place, so
Yeah.
and
But
especially during voting.
but yeah, like the guilds have given us, clues, like 2 years ago we all ignored Maids snubs, at PGA and DGA, and it got snubbed in limited series. That's also a Netflix show and also did really well too, in terms of viewership. Um that also won WGA, so that like it had an actual guild win, but it had these other snubs and it was snubbed in
Yep.
series. So I learned my lesson from that with Blackbird because I was like, Blackbird did not hit these, so I'm not predicting it. Um, yeah, I think it's also interesting that if people for people not to pay attention to guilds because it's like when you're like I feel like everyone who follows Oscar season knows to pay attention to the guilds for their Oscar predictions. I'm like, you should do the same for the Emmys because like there are TV categories at these guilds. Like, why don't you pay attention to them
Hmm.
for the Emmys?
Hmm. We got a couple emails about this. One from Judgmental TV fan and one from Jason. So I'm going to read them both here.
Wow. The
This
same
one's from
thing.
sort of same idea, not the same, but this one's from Jason. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I was wondering if you like the different number of nominees per acting category, depending on the number of submissions and how it is playing out with the threshold ranges. I like that there can be up to 7 or 8 slots, especially when it is a strong season in TV, but it seems kind of silly to me how it could play out. For example, each of the network procedural shows could submit over 20 of their weekly guests, which would open up a couple more guest slots than we have this year, but those nominations likely wouldn't go to any of those shows. They would go to the shows that Emmy voters are paying attention to. I wonder if you think they should lower the current threshold ranges or do something else different or just leave it as it is. That's from Jason. And then our old pal, Judgmental TV fan wrote in, Joyce, and says, Hi, Joyce and Chris. Variety recently published a story about how, quote, confusing the Emmy sliding submission nomination system is, as I guess, question mark, part of a plea to extend the major show categories to 10 and all the acting categories to 8. This kind of just seems like whining for the sake of publishing a new story. I think the system is fine and actually makes a lot of sense. What are your thoughts? That's from Judgmental TV fan. Joyce, what do you think about this?
So they adopted the system in 2020, the proportional rule. Um, I think like it is kind of silly, but I like it because I think it's different from like all other award shows, basically, right?
Yeah. Do
I
you
think it's more fun for us to like because we're basically just waiting with bated breath to see how many slots there are in
I,
like acting categories.
I do enjoy the chaos of it. I don't like it does feel punitive in a way to like certain show or it feels punitive a little bit to like certain contenders. Like we were saying, like Lisa Ann Walter is somebody who maybe won't get in at all for Abbott at this rate, but like might have gotten in this year if there were 7 or 8 slots. So I'm like, is it fair to the actors to be beholden to other it's something out of their control really. So is
Yeah,
that really
but I
fair?
think like this. So I didn't read that Variety story, but I did see the headline.
See,
Um,
I don't read Joyce,
you can't read. You don't know how to.
me and Leah Michelle.
Yeah. So I think like it's like they adopted us to make it reflective of the year in TV, right? So I think, you know, this year we lost a lot of spots, and that's reflective of what we went through in 2023 to 24 with 2 strikes, right? Like, we know we had less TV this year, right?
I yeah, I definitely it feels like I said, like I'm not like I'm not upset about it, but I do find that like it is a little punitive. But I mean, I think it's overall good. Do you think they should extend it to the program categories though? Like to the shows itself?
Well, it's only like drama and comedy are locked at 8. I've seen like, I mean, a lot of people are annoyed that that also doesn't apply to limited. Like limited is also not fixed at 8. I'm like, there's actually not a lot of limited series.
I think they would do well to add a spot to limited. I think they could add to 6. Certainly, there is enough content out there in terms of limited series to warrant 6 slots.
It's just like there's, if you actually look at the ballots, like the submissions, like there are way more submissions for drama series and comedy series than there are for limited. Like
But
there's just never a lot of limited series. So like you
right,
might like a lot of limited series, it might be really top heavy, but it's actually not proportional. So I understand why drama and comedy are fixed. I think a lot of people would say that this year, maybe they shouldn't be fixed, especially for drama.
yeah, I was wondering, like, do you think they should like be not fixed? I mean, maybe.
Um, I I'm fine with them being fixed. I'm also fine with limited not uh being at 8,
Okay.
fixed like them. I think a lot of the complaints too is because this year drama is so weak, so people don't like like people are happy when like it's like shows that are good and shows they like, right? Like last year no one was complaining about this, right?
No.
We were just trying to figure out like what's gonna be the last show, like is it gonna be House of the Dragon? Yes, it was. But this year it's like harder, and then there's like not a lot of shows that really took off, or like they were just mid, right? So I think that's why people are more annoyed with the system too. But I'm also like, again, this is just like what we went through in the year.
It is
So
illustrative of the year.
yeah, I think like there is a way, if they could like rig, in theory, the number of slots if all the networks and like personal reps collude for acting, I guess. Like, and they're like, we're just gonna, all submit like our clients and all the actors on these shows to try to get the number of submissions up. So then we can get more slots just for actors, even though we know these slots are not going to go to our
Right.
actors.
Right.
Like they could do that
Yeah.
if they really wanted to. So,
This one's from Sam Joyce. Hi guys, love the show. Thursdays are a highlight of my week because I get to listen to you guys at work.
at work.
Considering that submitting names for nominations is not that expensive, why don't studios just flood the submission list with everyone eligible, even if they have no shot at nominations, in order to increase the number of nomination slots, which would increase the likelihood of their people getting nominations? This seems like it would be an effective way to increase the odds of someone who the studio knows is on the bubble, but doesn't actually increase the competition. This is exactly what you just
This is
said.
just exactly what I said. This feels like I know these questions in advance and I do not.
He doesn't. But Sam is a loyal listener, so I was like, I gotta read this. I mean, it's possible. Why don't people do that? I
They
guess they
could do
could.
that,
They
right?
could.
They
Yeah.
could. But I think it also goes back to what we've said before. It's like a lot of these people don't care about this.
Yeah. It's a clerical thing that people aren't paying attention to sometimes.
Yeah.
This one's from Frank Joyce. He's a longtime emailer. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Look forward to your shows each week. I have 3 questions. They're not that long, though. Don't worry, Joyce.
Okay.
First, are Emmy nomination ballots weighted in the respect that when a voter puts at number 1 carries more points than what they put in 5th?
No.
Okay. 2, I'm certainly biased, but I love Nick Gallenstein, and I had hopes for Mary and George at the Emmys earlier this season. I feel like people online were talking about it as it aired, but it wasn't ever really discussed as having Emmy potential. I thought his visibility with Red, White, and Royal Blue and The Idea of You could help too, because there was no shortage of press with him and Anne Hathaway singing his praises. Is this show just not popping? Is it that it's on Stars? I feel like on Netflix or HBO, Mary and George could have been a thing. Let me know your thoughts.
It's on Stars, but I also think it's a little too out there
So you think even
for the masses.
if it was even on Netflix, you don't think it would have popped?
I think it would have popped on Netflix and it would have been a lot more like GIFs and memes,
Stars
right?
is like a tough find for some people.
Stars is very tough for Emmy voters.
Yeah. Never done well.
So yeah, But I think like there is it, there's a lot of sex in it too. So I feel like that, some people might be like prudish about that too.
Maybe. Third one
So
from Frank. I saw someone comment on Lisa Ann Walters' ex Twitter page that they think Emmy voters feel as though she's playing herself. Do you think that's why she hasn't been nominated? I feel like last cycle and this year, she's just on the fringe, and losing a slot here definitely isn't going to help. I would have had her in my personal picks before a few predicted nominees. So what do you think is the main reason she hasn't gotten in? Thanks so much. That's from Frank.
this is no shade to her because I love her. I love Chessie. But how do like is she like big enough for people to be like you're just playing yourself?
I think in LA maybe she is, right? Since she used to host a radio show and stuff. Like, I think
But
people know her.
it's like but like just for viewers, this is like the complaint.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think one of the strengths of a show like Abbott, and that we've seen historically, is people think the cast is just playing themselves.
Yeah, when it looks like effortless.
And my take on acting is always most people are playing variations on themselves. Like a good actor is like they're just like heightening. You know what I mean? Like James Gandolfini wasn't Tony Soprano, but he was able to easily affect that kind of character. I would say.
It's yeah, there's always parts of the actor in
Yes.
performance.
Yes.
I think this is the same thing people complain about with Kieran too and
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
right? They think he's just, and I think it's more like they saw him in interviews in real life after the fact.
Right. And they're going to see him in a real pain and be like, he's just playing
Yeah.
Roman.
Yeah, he's just playing Roman
Yeah.
too.
Which is
Yeah.
great because maybe you'll get an Oscar nomination.
No, it's like I think that's like a really reductive complaint.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's why she has not gotten in.
I,
I think like the
no.
loss of the slots every year sucks for her. And then last year, when we thought Abbott would expand in nominations, because that is usually what happens for a show in its second season after it already had Emmy success for its first season. And that didn't happen for it.
The reason I would be not bearish on her for this year, but I'm still thinking of keeping her in that sixth slot is because the other comedy shows don't have a large amount. Like The Bear is going to probably get two, right? Like we figure Abby Elliott and Eliza Colon-Zayas, and Abbott will get at least two, right? And then Hacks, we have Hannah, and then you're thinking Meryl maybe for that last spot. But the reason you would go to somebody other than Meryl is they might just stack the shows they like. And like if Only Murders isn't necessarily one of those shows, would they put Meryl in over someone from The Bear or someone from Abbott?
I don't know, but like those three ballots I had, they all voted for Only Murders.
But no Meryl, right? Oh, we don't
Well,
know.
they can't vote for acting. They can't.
So,
But I'm just saying, it's
right.
a show that is well liked.
It is.
So if you're assuming that spot is open, like it could be filled by Meg Stalter, right?
It could be Meg Stalter
Or like Molly Gordon
Molly
or someone
Gordon
else, like
or
someone
Lisa Ann
like
Walter.
Jessica Williams last year, right?
Right. So if you're thinking, but with one less slot, I feel like if there were six slots, Jessica Williams would not have gotten in last year. I feel pretty confident in that.
Like last year there was also more variety in shows in that category too, because we also had Alex Borstein and Ted.
So I'm like,
Ted. So
this
this
year,
year we're losing those shows. So we lost those shows and also a slot. So then we're assuming, and then we lost Io, but then we have two Bears, and then we have Hannah coming back too, who was not here last year. So it's like it's already getting full even with the changes.
it's getting full, and basically, I think the five are pretty set, and then that sixth slot is either going to be Meryl, one for Meg Stalter, Molly Gordon, or Lisa Ann Walter. I don't believe that like one of the Palm Royale women are going to break in or anything like that. I think it's like those four people basically for that last slot. And most people would say Meryl is certainly not even in the last slot, but I mean, like she would get in. And so then you're like, okay, but I don't know.
Yeah, it would be something if Abbott is the one with the most nominations in this category, after
I
it didn't expand last
I'm just
year.
I'm just gonna say this now. I'm not gonna predict it probably, but I would not be shocked if Janelle James missed, and Lisa Ann Walter got in with Cheryl Lee Ralph, and that's the two Abbotts.
Why?
Because I think Janelle James was like the funniest she was in season one. Probably could have won for season one. Season two, Ava was fine, and this season not as much of like a focal point of the show. I felt
She
like, and
was
not
she was
funny.
very underutilized this
And
season.
so like I think if they watch the show and you're a fan of Abbott, let's say, and you were ranking those 3 or 4 supporting actress contenders, whatever it's going to be, 3, you would probably not have her automatically in. I think you would say Cheryl number 1 for sure, and then maybe you'd say Lisa number 2. She had way more to do. She had almost everything with Cheryl. They're like a buddy act basically at this point on the show,
She
and
has a new
so
roommate in Jacob.
I'm like all of that. This was like the best season yet for Lisa, and maybe the worst season yet for
Ava.
Janelle. Not her fault. Worst being like the least to do. I don't know. I could see that happening. Maybe I will predict that. I don't know.
A Janelle James snub.
I mean, if it happened,
Uh,
would you be totally shocked? I guess.
no, I don't. I mean, I agree with all that. Like, I think like Melissa had more stuff to do this season than Ava did, although that kind of all fell away in the back half when they were just trying to get Janine and Gregory together, who I still do not ship. So I'm just like, that relationship is just not earned. I'm sorry. It's just not.
It feels like very derivative. It's like relying on the derivative nature of the other relationships that you know from TV.
Yeah, it just feels like we want to have a will they won't they with like
Yeah.
the two young straight
We
characters on
want Jim
the
and
show.
Pam for the show.
Yeah, we want
That's
like a
what it is.
Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, I agree. Like there wasn't as much Ava this season, and yeah, like I don't think like people would ever like, or most people would not vote for her before Cheryl, like so. But then like maybe like they're also just used to voting for her now. That
That would
it's
probably
just like,
that's the other thing, right? Like it just is a name, not a
yeah.
name check, but like I already am.
Yeah, and like she's
I've
not bad. Like she's still
no.
great. It's just she's
Right. And
not
it's like I'm not even going to give this mental thought. I'm not going to give this effort because I've already decided. Like she's already been a nominee for me 2 years in a row. Why am I going to do something different this year?
yeah.
Basically.
I mean, like I love all her stuff with Tatiana Ali. It's great.
Really funny, but
Yeah.
not as good. Like she really should have won the first season. I guess that would be my main takeaway.
Yeah, like season one, I think this is like what we've said about, I mean, like several people too, but what we've said about like Hannah Einbinder too. It's like, like this is like the best time for Hannah to win, right? And maybe like season one was the best time for Janelle to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Email us at slugfest@goldriver.com. And Joyce, this one's from Mike about our Oscars playback, which has returned
Yeah, return first episode yesterday,
this
Tuesday.
week.
Yeah.
We're doing the 80s this year, Joyce. Aren't you excited?
We already did it.
Oh, right. We already recorded them all. Was it good?
I don't remember. It was
I'm
so
listening
much has
back.
happened since then.
So far, it's great. I listened to yesterday. It's great.
You
Hi,
love to re-listen to all of
love
them.
it.
I know.
Pretty bird. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm a regular listener to your show and a first-time emailer. I really enjoy your Oscars playback on the 1980 movies and 1981 Oscars, and in particular, your account of the Best Actress race and the great Mary Tyler Moore. I think the race might have been closer than it seems now. While Sissy Spacek gave a great performance that, as the depiction of a famous person, falls into a long tradition of Oscar winners, Mary Tyler Moore's performance was also transformative. At the time, it was seen as a great departure from her most famous roles on The Dick Van Dyke Show and her own sitcom. So breaking from her public image like that, especially in a film that Oscar voters clearly loved, definitely kept her in contention. Ironically, many who knew her and even Mary herself have commented that she was more like Beth Jarrett than either Laurie Petrie or Mary Richards. And while a second Oscar nomination would have been great, it's not too surprising that she didn't get one. Ordinary People was her first film in 11 years. She had a brief film career after Dick Van Dyke ended, but only notable success was in Thoroughly Modern Millie. And by the time Ordinary People was released, she was already 43, and we know how unfriendly the movie business is to lead actresses in that age range. But given her fame and the iconic status on television, it would have been tough to cast her in supporting character roles either. And the failure of her follow-up to Ordinary People, a 1982 teaming with Dudley Moore called 6 Weeks, that was not great, Bob, and probably sealed her fate. Despite a relatively few film roles post Ordinary People, her best shot at subsequent nomination was Someone commented on the video for the David O. Russell film Flirting with Disaster, where she's quite funny as Ben Stiller's mom. Given the nominations that year, there was definitely room. And of course, subsequently, several actors would get nominations to win for Russell's films, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Still, I don't think we should feel too bad about her movie career, because few people in the 70-plus year history of network TV have had her career as significant and influential as hers. In my view, she, along with Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett, are the three greatest and most important women in the history of U.S. television comedy. Mike. P.S.
Wow.
Incidentally, the same day your video dropped, another well-known awards YouTube released a ranking of Donald Sutherland's 10 greatest performances. Ordinary People was on top, of course, and he was full of praise for both him and the movie, as the two of you were. It seems that perhaps the narrative on the 1981 Best Picture race could be turning a bit, and we might be in the middle of an Ordinary People sance.
I don't know about that, but I think we're also just in the afterglow of Donald's death too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like remembering.
I mean, there are a lot of Ordinary People fans, but I don't think the Raging Bull stands will subside.
No, but like we talked about on the show, on the episode, great movie.
Great, I love it.
And deserved to win, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely not like an outrage that it won.
No. And like I said on the show, I think some of the people who are outraged have probably not seen it.
Yeah.
Or like they go into, or they were already conditioned to think it was bad, and they go into it.
Yeah.
Expecting it to be bad. Yeah.
So you can watch these joints every week. We're going to do another 80s episode. We didn't do
we didn't do the last one because we already did that.
We already did the 1990 Oscars, but I'm gonna repost it as I'll post it on the podcast feed, maybe re-up it, but not in the video.
But just remember, everything we say is from 2022.
Yeah, I listened back to it. It's fine. We're good. We didn't get in trouble for anything.
How many times do you re-listen to everything?
As many as it takes. Joyce, this one's from Dan. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. With the recent news that the ill-advised Harry Potter TV show, Shots Fired, Lanterns, and the It prequel series that I keep thinking is a Derry Girl spinoff are moving from HBO to Max, how long do you think it will be until Max is out of the scripted original business? It feels like Hacks is going to end up as the only original series very soon, and that's only because it wins Emmys. That's from Dan.
My friend and I were talking about this yesterday.
Okay.
I was like, Hacks is going to be Max's only original series left.
Well, is there a world where they just move Hacks for season 4 to just HBO proper?
They could, right? They could.
It feels like they've definitely decided there's no reason to do original content for Max.
Right. I also saw a lot of incorrect tweets yesterday when people were just like making fun of Warner's and obviously AK's as for thinking they think the Max brand replaced HBO, and now like these shows are reverting to HBO. I'm like, those are two completely different things. Like their rebrand was HBO Max. They rebranded HBO Max into Max, and those shows were originally ordered for Max, and they were only going to air on Max, like Hacks. A lot of rhyming here. And now they're moving these shows to HBO. HBO never went away. HBO has always existed.
There's a really a strain of people online who are permanently aggrieved about David Zaslav.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything he does is wrong and he's an idiot. And they don't actually pay attention to anything that's actually happening, like you just said. And so HBO never went away.
HBO never went away. I've seen a lot of people attribute HBO shows to Max. I'm like, no, like House of the Dragon is an HBO show.
Right. And The Sympathizer was an HBO show, not a Max show. It's not HBO/Max. It's just HBO.
It's just HBO. Like you can watch all these shows on Max. All HBO shows are on Max, but not all Max shows are airing on HBO.
I think a lot of people don't. I think this also speaks to a lot of people are not smart, but also a lot of people don't have cable anymore. And so they don't realize that HBO is still a network that people can watch. And they could use the remote control to find.
Yeah,
and
like
Max
it's still
is a
like
streaming platform.
Yeah, like House of Dragon used to watch on Sunday nights.
Yes.
9 HBO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically,
I think that's part of
everything
it
is
too.
a Max show, and everything is an HBO show now, basically, except for Hacks, which is a Max show. Hacks is only on Max, but Succession was on Max and HBO, but is an HBO show. And now
is an HBO show because they air
Derry Girls or whatever this is.
It's Welcome to Derry.
Okay, Welcome to Derry Girls is a HBO show. that will also be on Max.
Yeah. Yeah. Harry Potter, Welcome to Derry, they were ordered as Max shows. So
Yes.
you were only going to be able to watch it on Max. If you
Yes.
have HBO, the network on your TV, on your cable box, you would not have been able to watch those.
Right.
But now you can because they are moving to HBO. And then the reverse happened with your fave Winning Time because it started as an HBO show. It aired on HBO Linear. And then season 2, they quietly moved it to Max.
And that was the end,
Never
beginning
aired
of
on
the end.
HBO.
That was the beginning of
I
the
know
end.
7 episodes.
Yeah, I think the better question is unanswerable now is I think the reason HBO has become HBO is that it is a premier top flight brand of content.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you add, and the reason they were originally doing shows for Max was to not muddy the waters of HBO, right? With
Yeah.
and so now by folding, now the Harry Potter show, we're recording this on Wednesday, Joyce. They just announced that
Mark Mylod.
Mark Mylod directing multiple episodes. Francesca, who's it? I forget her name.
Gardner.
From Succession, writing it. I'm like, this sounds good to me. I'm like, I'm in for this Harry Potter show. That sounds like cool. Mark Mylod is great. He's done all the great HBO shows and Entourage. And so that seems like it would be good. Lanterns has got Damon Lindelof writing it, or one of the eco EPs. I'm like, okay, loved what he did with Watchmen, maybe, and Mrs. Davis. This seems good. The Derry Girls, sure, maybe that'll be good. They have Penguin, right? Is that going to be an HBO show too, right? The Penguin.
They Casey talked about when it was gonna drop. I think he mentioned Casey Bloys. And I think he mentioned that it might air on Thursdays. They might make Thursdays another
Sundays.
Original day, for them.
So I'm like, those are great. Those all and the Dune show. There's a Dune show. All these shows in a bubble sound kind of cool, but they're all based on IP, and they're all going to be going to HBO and flooding HBO proper with IP instead of original plus Last of Us, instead of original shows like Succession or Hacks, even though it's a Max show, or anything else that they've done.
White Lotus.
And I'm like, is this a problem? Will this end up being a problem for the brand? Now, if the shows are great, no, it won't. But if there's a lot of if the shows aren't as good as the pedigree of the people involved, then all of a sudden HBO is just another brand and not the premier brand.
Yeah, I think we're kind of lacking in their original titles, right? Original HBO titles. I'm not talking about these shows that are moving from Max to HBO. I feel we need to hear more of those being in development and being ordered, and not IP, not based on anything. We need another Succession for them, another White Lotus,
And I guess the thing, this is definitely reminds me of Hacks when he's Noisy Concepts, right? And
Noisy Concepts, Black Joy.
A lot of these are like the Penguin. If you watch the trailer for it, I've watched. It looks great, and it looks exactly like The Sopranos. And I was like, there's a world where this show is just, Cobblepot or whatever the fuck, and it's just a regular show with no Batman accoutrements.
I mean, all the comic books, the horror, we all know they're all just metaphors.
And it's why can't you just do an original version of a gangster show, right? Would this be any worse if it wasn't the Penguin, right? I don't know, but I just all the shows that we mentioned feel like they are. I mean, Harry Potter notwithstanding, because I'm sure that can only really be Harry Potter. But I'm like Penguin, Lanterns. I'm sure all these shows could be something else if they were original, but are now not grafted onto the IP, but are using the IP to tell a story rather than an original story, right? If they could make White Lotus, if White Lotus could have been a superhero hotel or something, I'm sure they would have done that.
Yeah, I again, I think that's what we need to hear more from them, because that was their brand, right? It was just prestige. It's not TV, it's HBO. And now they just have a bunch of, IP adaptations and everything.
Yeah, it's not TV, it's not HBO, it's Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of similar to the whole box office discourse with Inside Out 2 exploding, and now it's one of 7 movies to make more than 100 million in its second weekend, and all those titles are sequels or superheroes, right? And I saw several tweets last weekend over the weekend, being like, of course they're all just like, there's no original title here. It's all sequels and superheroes. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, like what do you expect? Like,
The takeaway from Inside Out, I'm not Mr. Box Office Choice, but I read this stuff. Here's my layman's takeaway on Inside Out 2, since you brought it up. Movies that are after Barbie and Inside Out 2, I would say make a movie that like appeals to young women is a smart idea, because
mhm.
they're like very lucrative audience that you would want to tap,
Very underserved.
very underserved, and mining IP that is not for 45-year-old white guys is smarter than mining that IP. So like last year, Flash, Indiana Jones, Mad Max, Fury Road, Furiosa this year, like all the movies that have been constantly disappointing are made for like white guys who were 40 years old. And the stuff that overperforms is made for not that audience. So like Inside Out 2 is getting not just like kids like my daughter's age, but like teenagers who watched Inside Out as
Who are
kids.
now 9 years later.
And
Yeah.
so like making it nostalgia for them. Despicable Me 4 will do that also, because it's like nostalgia for like kids who were, 6 in 2010 are now like whatever,
20.
20. Maybe they're going to go see Despicable Me 4 because they
You can't
remember
read and you
seeing
can't
it.
do math.
Really bad. So that's I just think like that's like no matter all the conversations about all this stuff, I'm like, just look at the audience. Like most people my age don't go to the movies. So why are you making a movie for people my age? You should be making a movie for like a teenager. And what is teenagers like? Stuff that they saw 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, also funny because, Inside Out 2 has nostalgia. So,
Really good.
yeah. And yeah, like also like this week, Furiosa hit streaming and everything. So there's a lot of clips now circulating the
Loving
internet.
those clips. I really love Furiosa. I was like, I can't wait to watch it again.
It's a good film, but I'm not surprised at all that it underperformed.
No, I'm not paying money for it either. I'm waiting for it. Get Max, get on that. Put that on Max. Let's go.
Um, but yeah, like it feels like these shows that like Warner Brothers Discovery is investing in is, very similar to like what you were saying, like these like IP brands that in film that people think will do really well and it might not. And now they're
So
kind of relying on it for their main HBO brand.
I will say Harry Potter remains a strong J.K. Rowling, regardless. Kids still love Harry Potter like
Yes.
they do. And so like that show is like basically gonna be a massive hit, I would
It's like
imagine.
it's Teflon. So
Completely Teflon. It would be a huge hit. Lanterns, I mean, Jesus Christ. I love Damon love Damon Lindelof. He is like one of my favorite creators. And everything he's done, I
I miss
love.
his Twitter account.
But I have not a lot of high hopes for a show of even if it's good, I don't think it'll be really a breakthrough show, because I don't know where the audience for that necessarily would be. But who knows? That's why Casey Boys is not. Casey Boys, if you're watching this, don't send me a mean tweet. I guess I would say. I love you
He's
and the
gonna
brand.
slide into your DMs.
Don't DM me. I love you and the brand. It's great. HBO is my favorite. Joyce, this one's about the Olympics, I think. Let's see. This one's for
Oh,
you.
great.
It's from Anna Marie. Joyce, period. Fuck off, Chris. Joyce, what are your thoughts regarding Michael Andrew not making the Olympic team? His showing at trials was kind of embarrassing, to say the least. It feels like even Rowdy is over him and his weird training that doesn't focus on endurance. This might as well be another language to me.
What do you
I
think this
know
is
the
about?
words
Tell me what sport do you think this is? Tell me what sport.
swim based on trials.
Yes, but trials is happening currently for track and field and gymnastics too. Starts
Okay.
Wednesday.
So is
But
it
yes, this
swim?
is swimming. It's swimming. Swimming just wrapped up. Swimming trials just wrapped up on Sunday.
Okay.
Um,
Is Rowdy a coach?
oh my God.
Is it Rowdy
I
Piper?
can't- It's Rowdy Gaines,
Not Rowdy
three-time
Piper.
Olympic gold medalist from 1984. He's
No.
the best. He is so excitable in the booth. And I need a Rowdy cam. I've been asking for a Rowdy cam for like 2 decades.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
he just like when there's like an upset or like a really exciting race, he just screams and jumps. Um so it's really great. And so Michael Andrew, I am not shocked that he didn't make the team. He made it in Tokyo, and he won a gold in the 4x100 medley relay. He swam the breaststroke leg, but he bombed out in his three individual events. And like the funniest moment was like in the 200 IM final in Tokyo. He was out fast, and then the last 50 is the freestyle, and he just completely died. He came home in like 29 seconds, which is really, really slow. And the best part was like while it was happening and you could see all the other swimmers pass him, Rowdy in the booth was like, he's done. Like, forget about him. Like the way he just said it was like, he's done. He's
It's
not getting on
amazing.
the podium. And the way he trains, like, yeah, like Anne Marie said, is not for endurance, which you need for something like 200 IM. So he also does sprints too. But like he basically just he trains with, it's called ultra short race pace training. So he
Okay.
just does like really brief, like 25-meter sprints. And like basically like no endurance. So, and then he had a really poor trials performance. Like he made the 100 breaststroke final, which is like one of his main events, and he came in 8th. And he was the only swimmer not to go under a minute. And he qualified for this event in Tokyo. He was like tied top qualifier for the 50 free, which is just splash and dash 1 lap. He didn't make that team. But that's also kind of chaotic because it's like anyone can make it, but he didn't make that. That was his last chance. And then he didn't advance out of the 100 fly final either. He had like a really slow split coming home again. So he doesn't have the endurance for like the back half, and then he dropped the 200 IM, so he didn't swim that at all. So it's and he set a lot of like age group, no one's listened to this anymore anyway, but no, he set a lot of age group records when he was a teenager, and he went
Okay.
pro when he was 14. So he's coached by his dad, and so he was he was kind of like touted in the media as like, is he going to be like the next Michael Phelps? And there was this ESPN profile on him like 9 years ago about him, like as he was like trying to prepare to qualify for Rio, and he didn't qualify for Rio. This is back when he was a teenager, 9 years
Okay.
ago. He's 25 now.
So is that
So he
too
didn't,
old?
no, 25 is fine.
Okay.
So, like, Caleb Dressel now is 27. He just qualified again.
Okay.
But, and yeah, so he didn't qualify for Rio, so he made it for Tokyo, and now he's not going to Paris. So it's just kind of like, he's never changed his training, and like a lot of like swim Twitter and like critics over the years have been like, he needs to add like endurance training to be the best, right? To like live up to his potential. Like you can't just like rely on talent. So, but that that
Yeah.
is that is Michael Andrew
Okay.
and him failing at trials to qualify for the Olympic swim team.
We got one more, Joyce. At slugfest at goldderby.com. It's from Monica. How many Emmy voters, hi Joyce and Chris, how many Emmy voters do you think fill out their own ballots? There is no way everyone can watch everything anymore. So there is no way they actually all do this, right?
I think a lot. Yeah.
I think a lot probably do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been part of a group voting. Have I talked about this?
I
Have I
think
told you?
so. I think you've told me about this. Yeah.
But yeah, so this was a couple years ago. This was back during the unlimited ballot era when you can nominate as many things as you want. So I was with a group of people, and one of them is an Emmy voter. And it was during voting, and like the topic came up, and they're like, "Oh, hey, like I haven't voted yet. Let's all vote right now."
I
So
feel
like
like this
logged
is
in,
not weird. Yeah. I think this
yeah,
is like,
logged in, and then I was like, "You guys, like, what do you think?" And then people were
yeah,
just like tossing out names. There's one category, I'm not joking. We submitted like 16 shows.
it's
I'm not
amazing.
joking. Another category was just like 2 shows because like no one cared. No one
It's
watched anything.
amazing. I think this definitely happens. I also think voters are like, hey, what did you watch to their kids?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like some of my friends who are voters, like they ask me like, oh, like what else? They don't ask me like what they should vote for, but they're like, what else like aired this year?
right.
Right. To just
You don't
like
know.
reminder,
Too much stuff.
Yeah. So
Uh, Church will be back next week, maybe with multiple episodes. I guess we'll see. We can talk about this offline. We'll definitely be back Thursday talk about the bear,
well, we'll definitely have multiple because of OP.
and we'll have Oscars playback. Next episode, the 1982 Oscars, and maybe we'll do another one. We'll talk about it. We'll see. All right. Talk to you then, Joyce. Bye.